Greetings, guys and ghouls, and welcome back to the podcast where we talk about all things spooky, Dial H for horror.
I am your ghostess with the mostest, Shay.
And I am your favorite final girl, Gina.
Yeah. All right. Welcome back. It's nice to see you guys again this week.
Exactly. I had fun the first time around, and I've been excited about this all week this week.
Oh yeah, me too. Especially since I think we've got a really good movie we're going to be talking about today.
Yes, indeed.
All
Today
right.
we're talking about Spree.
Spree. Yes, that movie came out in 2020 and it stars Joe Keery.
Yes, it does. It actually debuted at the Sundance Film Festival in January 24th, right before lockdown. And then it opened up in select theaters and on streaming services on August 14th, 2020.
Yep. All right. And Gina actually picked the movie this week, so this was one I had seen, but I hadn't seen since 2020. So it was nice to go back and revisit it.
Yeah. And this one I had never seen, but was really excited after reading the synopsis on Hulu. So I went into this one blind and I had a really good time.
Oh yeah, it's a good time. All right, so take it away. Talk about the movie.
Absolutely. So, for a little synopsis and background here, Spree is a satirical thriller directed by Eugene Kotlarenko that follows a young clout chaser slash rideshare driver, Kurt Kunkle, who, as you've already mentioned, is played by Stranger Things star Joe Keery. He live streams his latest project, hashtag The Lesson, where he plans to reach a social media stardom by instructing his fans on how to go viral overnight through murdering his passengers during his rideshare route. The film also stars SNL alumni Sashir Zameda and Kyle Mooney. Also, David Arquette's in this movie, which we all know him from Scream.
From Scream.
um,
Yep,
this cast is like really awesome for this movie, and I wasn't
it
expecting
was.
so many stars.
I was really shocked when Misha Barton showed up. That was like the one that caught me off
Yes,
guard. I was like, "Wait a minute, is that Misha Barton?" And I was like, "Yeah, that totally is." Like
which
that caught me off
actually
guard.
I did some when I was doing my digging, like in research for the movie. Um, I actually saw that Misha Barton used to voice in Kablam
Yeah,
on
she did.
Nickelodeon.
Yes, yes,
I had no
yeah.
idea.
That I did know. But yeah, no, I was pretty shocked to see her return. I guess I don't know if this is exactly her return to horror, but I guess it is.
Yeah, kind of. But no, it was really exciting and refreshing to see her in the movie too. And yeah, let me see here. Oh, yeah, another interesting tidbit that I wanted to share with you is that one of the executive producers of this film is Drake.
I know, I saw that. I saw that. And I think the other one is Future. The
Yes.
other one's Future. Yeah, so that's crazy. Drake and Future. Who would have
I
thought?
was just like, what is this movie? Yeah. So shall we start our ride on this spree that we're
Uh,
taking?
yeah, go ahead and walk us through some of the stuff that happens within the movie.
Okay, sounds good. Well, the movie opens with Kurt's Draw My Life video that feels like it came right out of 2015. We gave it an understanding of Kurt's cringeworthy content as his desperate attempts at becoming the next big thing on the internet over the last decade. We meet Kurt's dad, Chris Kunkle, played by David Arquette, who we all know again is from Scream. And Kurt's dad is a DJ and a bad one at that. You can tell that he and Kurt both use each other's platforms to gain notoriety. Kurt also introduces us to another character named Bobby Bud Lee, played by young filmmaker and actual YouTube star Josh Oveya. Kurt used to babysit Bobby and now tries to use him for clout since Bobby is a famous YouTuber whose screen name is Bobby Basecamp. We then see Kurt set up his lights, camera, and poisoned water bottles as he begins his viral killing spree on the live stream app, Livefly.
Yep,
So,
yep.
um, yeah, just talking about kind of the opening and the cringe that we see with
Very
it.
a very cringe-worthy opening. I thought it was I mean, I thought it was funny when David Arquette showed up. Like, I was just like, wait a minute, like that was kind of like out of left field. I think because this movie flew so much under the radar that like I remember when it was coming out. I remember seeing like the trailer, and it really just focused on like the rideshare aspect of things. It really just focused on Joe Keery being kind of creepy and like you know, harassing people in his rideshare. So you didn't really know who all was going to be in it until like you sat down and watched it. So when like David Arquette showed up, I was like, whoa, that was pretty crazy. And I actually didn't know that that one guy was a real YouTuber. I guess that's out of my age limit there because I was like, I don't know who the heck that kid is.
Yeah, so I only found it through researching and stuff. Apparently he sometimes films with Film Wolfhard from Stranger Things too,
That
on his
makes
YouTube
sense.
channel.
Makes sense.
I mean, he's got like some of the clout content, but his actual like filmmaking is really interesting because he does a lot to boost awareness like for suicide and for like people taking too much medication for ADD and ADHD. So he's got like a great
Mm.
message and everything out there. And I kind of started to really respect this kid after looking into him some
Mm.
more.
That's very cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Mad respect for that.
Honestly, for me, when I was watching the opening scene, I couldn't help but notice there's a part where Kurt's at Starbucks and he's sitting there with his Starbucks cup and like written in big letters across is Kurt, but it's written incorrectly. And I just couldn't help but
Mhm.
chuckle at that
Mhm. I did
because,
see
like, of
that.
course.
Of course, it's always incorrect. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You can have the most common name and they go out of their way to um misspell it.
Yeah, exactly. They make a point to.
No disrespect to anybody who works at Starbucks, just so you
No,
guys
not at
know.
all. Not at all. I mean,
Not at
your
all.
job is very difficult, and like I respect the heck out of it because I couldn't
Yeah.
do it.
And to be fair,
Um,
there's a lot of people who have common names, but they spell them like off the wall.
Oh yeah, I mean Ashley's got like 20 different spellings now, so
Exactly.
but yeah, then we do meet our first couple of passengers slash victims in this movie, which are I feel like just made to be hated, basically.
Oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, how do you feel about Frederick, the racist guy?
He was a racist guy and he got what was coming to him 110%. I would definitely say he was I would definitely say that they kind of do kind of go out of their way to make the characters like most of them unlikable, so you kind of feel less like guilt over watching them get like
Yeah,
murdered. Um you really only start to feel like bad once it gets later in the movie, but the first guy was like, "Oh my god, really? This man just really sat in his spree and just starts saying stuff about white power. Okay."
I'm white and I'm proud. I was like, Kurt, do your job.
It's like exactly. Oh my goodness. Oh, it was yeah, he was I honestly though, I think I hated the one guy later on in the movie, the pickup
Yeah.
artist guy more than him just because he was just gross. Like his entire
No.
demeanor was gross. Like I was like, "You're awful. You're an awful person." Like
Yeah, he's
100%.
just like an absolute like sleaze bag and he's obnoxious. Actually looking into his actor, he's a Disney Channel star who used to be in Teen Beach Movie.
Oh my god.
And I was like, how did you get here?
You're saying a lot of stuff that you should not be saying in this
No.
movie if you're a Disney Channel star, but, also, Ariana Grande's brother was in this movie too, so
Yes, Frankie
Ariana
Grande.
yeah, I noticed him, like, the second I saw him in the car, and I was like, "I'm pretty sure that's Frankie Grande," but, like, I don't know, I he has a distinct look. I've only seen him a handful of times, but he has a distinct look. It's hard to miss him.
I actually did not know who he was at first, and then when I was looking things up, I was like, wait, Ariana Grande's older half brother? What in the world?
Mhm,
What?
mhm, yep. Yeah, I think I've seen him in, like, I don't know, I saw him on something, on some show one time, and I was like, "Oh," and he's definitely one of those that, likes to let people know he's related to Ariana Grande.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's like, "Okay, yeah, we know, you're her brother. You're related."
I also can't help but just say this. The poison water that Kurt uses in the beginning of this movie works way too fast.
It does. It does.
Like, that's some potent stuff.
It does. Yeah.
They're literally just like gulp,
Die dies.
dies immediately.
But yeah, I want to say just like a quick thing about like his demeanor in the movie. Like for people who are used to seeing him in Stranger Things, like I know there's a lot of people who like are absolute simps for his character Steve Harrington in
Me.
Stranger Things. Uh, I used to be, and then Eddie Munson came along. um, but I know there's people that are absolute sims for him. It's off-putting, and he does a really good job. I think it's a testament to how good of an actor he is, and I don't know why he's not in more things
Yes.
because he's almost lovable as Kurt. Like he's very he's cringy, but like in a way you feel bad for him and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, like somebody you would think at first, like not thinking about the murder stuff yet, but like you think, oh yeah, I'd be friends with this guy, and he's probably be the guy that I'd be like, dude, just take a shower, like learn to talk to girls, put the camera down. Like you would just try to help him. You would try to like spruce him up a little bit, do some queer eye, like, queer eye shit for him.
Yes.
But like he also then, as the movie goes on and he devolves like further into his madness, he does genuinely become like creepy and like uncomfortable to watch to the point where like at the end of the movie you're just like, ugh, I don't like this guy.
Yeah.
He's a
Joe
little too
Keery
real.
did he did a great job, like, having that slow burn of him going from cringy content creator to serial killer, and, like,
Mhm.
you actually getting to see this guy, like, slip more into
Mhm.
madness with every kill that he does. Uh,
Yeah.
I actually did read as well that, the director Eugene and Joe, they both went ahead and watched cringe compilations of lesser known content creators,
Oh
just so then
bless.
he can help, like, it could help him develop the character of
Mhm.
Kurt even better.
Mhm.
So I don't
Yeah.
know. I have some respect for that.
I do too, and I'm gonna talk about this more like at the end of our little like recap of the movie. But I really do think that this is probably one of the best movies highlighting one of the current issues within our, I hate to be that society person, but within our society
Mhm.
right now, of people's desperation to become viral, especially with things like TikTok
I was
and the
about to say, yeah.
obsession with like, I have to be a star, I have to post something, and to quote Pearl from the movie Pearl, I'm a star. Like that mentality is just really like toxic, and there's a lot of movies trying to, like, especially in the horror genre, trying to play on a modern problems, which is great. We should be playing on those things because that's what is going to speak to the generation that's coming up. But I don't think anyone has done it as well. I mean, I know people have really praised that movie Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I haven't watched it
Yeah.
yet. Um, but um I don't think I've seen a movie hit the Gen Z internet online, chronically online experience as well as this one has done, and made him this figure into somebody that is relatable, because I think some of us have all been that way at some point in or another in our lives, but also someone we feel sorry for and also someone we're afraid of. Like not afraid of
Yes.
like, he's a monster in the closet, but like I probably know somebody who's like this. I probably talk to
Oh, a
somebody who's
hundred
like this,
percent.
like if I'm at a club, I probably run into like five guys that are like this, it's too real. It's too real. So but yes, continue.
Especially, like, for me, like, after my time of living in, like, a major city and everything too, like, these people are everywhere. Like, this is a
Mhm.
real person.
Mhm.
This whole, like, clout chasing mentality.
Yep, the influencer
So,
mentality. But we'll talk about that more
yeah,
at the end. I want to
for
continue on
sure.
with the synopsis here.
Absolutely, no problem. Well, like we were just saying that, now we're riding in the car with Mario, the sleazy character. He's just in a rush and he's down bad to get to his booty call. Kurt makes a stop to pick up another passenger on his free social ride who happens to be a famous comedian, Jesse Adams, who is played by Sashir Zameda. Jessie doesn't stay in the car for long, though, as it's hard for her to endure Kurt's cringe and Mario's sexual advantages towards her. This is where Kurt gets his next kill. Cue Gummy Bear.
That was so iconic. That was so iconic. Oh, another thing I want to point out about Kurt that I love
Yeah,
in this movie, his facial expressions to the camera when he's about to kill.
100%. Yeah, just
The look to the side, the look to the front, like when he goes to kill Mario, that just like that subtle look at the camera in front, and he puts on Gummy Bear and he's like, "Okay."
let's do what we gotta do. Yeah, I don't know, like, I heard that and I was like, "Holy crap." This is really happening, and, like, I felt bad laughing for a second, but then I also was, like, kind of living for the moment because we had this song that was big for us in middle school?
Mine was like more like
Yeah,
high school, but like
high
yeah, it was
school,
a high
yeah.
school age. The freaking Gummy Bear song. I remember that was like early age of YouTube. Like that song, I remember watching that
Yeah.
video on YouTube. The little green guy hopping around, and it was definitely like a throwback. That's another thing. When he does his kills in the movie, he oftentimes plays his own DJ tracks, which I think are absolutely iconic.
So I actually freeze framed, in the movie, and I looked at the names of some of the DJ tracks.
Hmm.
Um, we've got the Fire mix with 3 X's and the New Selly Happy,
Oh my god.
and we have the Tasty mix, only 2 X's there though.
Only
Um,
two.
but the one that we listen to the most is hashtag the lesson mix, and the art that is on the cover for that one is Kurt's face like coming out of the earth. He like photoshopped his face in the earth and it's the creepiest thing ever.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's great. No, I do love that little touch though of every time he's about to like off somebody, he just like starts blaring his music and you hear that DJ Kurt.
And the thing is like I'm laughing because it's so real. Like I'm like it's scary that I can see somebody who actually would do this,
Mhm.
but I'm like,
Mhm.
holy
I
shit.
also have another little tidbit that's kind of it's related to the movie, but
Yeah.
so in the part I think it's in the beginning when he's like it shows you like his Google search history and says how to hide a dead body. The first result that pops up is actually a video or an article from this other YouTube channel called What Culture, and it was like a joke video or article that they did, and in one of their videos where like they have on YouTube, I don't know if you've ever heard of whatculture.com. They do listicles, so they do listicles based off of movies, video games, like all sorts of things, TV shows. And they had one that was 10 things not to do in a horror movie, and number one was don't listen to whatculture.com's advice on where to find a dead body from Spree. So little meta moment for them, which I think is really cool that they made it into the movie. It's like blink and you'll miss it moment, but yeah, they highlighted that that was the number one was don't listen to us about where to hide a dead body. Like
I really love that.
Kurt should not be listening to us. Don't look at what we're saying. We're not gonna
Kurt,
be
no.
responsible for this.
I'm also like curious, and maybe it is explained in it, but like, what does he do with all the bodies?
Yeah, they didn't really explain that too much.
Okay, I just want to make sure I wasn't like
Yeah.
I blinked and they like maybe quickly explained that, but yeah, I have no idea what he does with those bodies in the movie, and it was kind of like um it was confusing me a lot. I just kept thinking about it a
Mhm.
lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, you can continue on with your little recap that we've got.
Yeah, of course. So basically, after he kills Mario, he develops his plan to attend Jesse's comedy show later that night. And we get like a little compilation of Jesse's social media and her comedy routines. And I'm gonna be the bad guy right now and just say I don't find Jessie funny.
She's not funny, no.
Okay. I was like, we
She's
start with
not
her with
funny.
the doing the face mask and she makes like the blackface joke and everything. And like I'd assume that like you and I would probably be Jesse's targeted art audience.
Mhm.
Um and I just wasn't vibing with it. I'm like, nothing you say is funny.
I felt like her comedy was like the kind of comedy where it's somebody who like there was like one thing that she said that I giggled at. I can't remember what it was. That's how like unmemorable it
Yeah.
was. But I also like and probably has somebody really bad at writing jokes, writing the jokes for the movie.
I was gonna
Um,
say because I
so
feel like the actress was doing her best to bring the
yeah,
character to life, but it was just poor
hmm
writing,
it was.
with her character.
And I think it was also because it was leaning too much into the like comedic influencer thing, which is like something that I
Yeah.
hate on like TikTok, where it's like people get famous for being funny, but it's like the most banal thing that they do, like observations, weird things. Like there's people on TikTok who are genuinely funny, who do like
Yeah.
genuinely great comedy. Like Stancy Potenza, I love her content where she does like the purge, like the morning after the purge and stuff like that. But she puts thought into her videos, whereas some people like they hold up a camera and they're like her blackface joke, like this is just a white woman that wants to do blackface, like this is just for white women that want to do blackface, like, and it's like, and people eat it up and they're like, ha, 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 oh my god, they're so funny. And then that person gets millions of views and they're rich and famous. And it's like, well, what
Yeah.
did you do? You said something that
Y
was so bland and like, okay. And I think that's kind of the point in some ways. Like that's kind of what I took was that she's
Okay, yeah.
funny for people who don't understand comedy and don't appreciate effort. Like she's a low effort comic. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of those on social media. There's a lot of people that are getting like podcasts and YouTube channels and TV deals and they're not funny. They're just like I hold up my camera and say something that is kind of like makes you when you're scrolling through go, "Huh, that's cute." And then scroll by,
I really
you
like
know.
this perspective because it helps me to maybe even appreciate the writing more, and maybe it wasn't bad writing, but it's intentional for her to come off
Mhm.
as not funny to those who kind
Yeah.
of get comedy a bit more.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it
Um,
was intentional because it really was
right.
bad writing, and the
It
rest of the movie is like really well written, but then there's that.
there's just this character, and like I feel like in some ways she's supposed to be our protagonist, and I'm like, I
Mhm.
really don't, I
Yeah.
don't like
And
you.
I mean, I liked her as a person. Like
Hmm.
I didn't want anything bad to happen to her because I'm like she doesn't really deserve it. She's just kind of caught in the crossfire. You know, she hasn't done anything. She's not like the stereotypical like horror movie character where it's like
Hmm.
yes, she's not funny, but she doesn't seem like she's a bad person. Until like the end of the movie, really, when she's kind of milking everything. But you
Yeah,
know, like
yeah,
like she doesn't seem like she's a bad person. Like she's just a person that posts on social media, people like it, she gets money, she does her thing, and it's like she's just living her life, and she just gets caught in this crossfire with Kurt, who's so obsessed with being like her. And I think there's a lot to say about that mentality. Is you have somebody like Kurt's very cringy, but I think if Kurt had the right mentality, he does have some talent. He does have some talent. He could go someplace with his talent, like, as far as,
I
like, the
mean,
music and stuff like that.
yeah, I've seen cringier people become
Mhm.
famous,
Famous,
and
yeah.
like, it's not that he doesn't have the potential at all. It's just,
Yeah, and it's like the clash of the titans. It's like it's a person who is desperate for somebody to notice them, for somebody to
yeah,
see them, versus somebody who didn't really work very hard, did the most banal thing that they could think of, and now they are a big star, which is so freaking common in our society right now, where you have people who are genuinely talented versus people who are doing the bare minimum and they're rich.
yeah, and even later in the movie, Kurt comments on that too. I mean, she
He
can't even
does.
film her Instagram story vertically.
Yep. Oh, and that bothered me. The fact that she had it, like,
It's me.
sideways, I was like, "Who does that? Why is
Who?
it
Who?
sideways like that?" Like, and I'm like, "I know I'm sounding like all the people in this movie, but just, like, my eyes, like, why?" I'm like he says that, he's like, "Those all her followers have neck problems." I'm like, "That's what I feel." Like, just gotta be like this bent neck lady from the Haunted Hill House, like,
Oh, I was thinking more like Smile when they're at the car window and then the
oh,
neck breaks.
yeah, yeah, the one part that scared the crap out of me in the trailer, but they showed it too
Yeah.
many times. But yeah,
Um,
go ahead.
yeah, yeah. Let's see here. Just to quickly jump through it. So then Kurt picks up his next people to um who requested a ride from him, and they're three LA socialites who are looking for an adventure. And then, as we said before, great casting for the scene. You've got Lala Kent from Vanderpump Rules. We've got Misha
Mhm.
Barton, and then Frankie Grande. They all did a really great job in the scene. Honestly, that was the most brutal, in my opinion, most brutal death of the movie.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
Um,
And,
yeah, you wanna talk about it for a sec?
Well, I just wanted to say, like, yeah, and they did a great job of highlighting the trashy influencers, the
Yes.
type of people that you see, like, that go to, like, I mean, you know this, that go to theme parks and they think that the world revolves around them. They go to nightclubs and they think the world revolves around them. Who do you know who I am? I have a million followers. I means I can take up the walkway and do a TikTok. Like
I
they
have
gave off that vibe.
I have been around them. I have worked with them. I have
Yeah.
it's painful. It's painful.
It's it is, but, yeah, continue on because 'cause we'll talk
No,
more
you're
about this
totally
stuff,
fine.
yeah, at the end.
Yeah. So then we get this really cool scene where we think that Kurt is going to Jesse's house, but he's actually knocking on Bobby's door, where they begin to fight over the fact that Kurt wants Bobby to share Kurt's stream on his account. That way, Kurt can finally start getting some viewers. Because up to this point, Kurt hasn't broken like 10 viewers, or like he hasn't gotten into
He
double
only had, like,
digits, as he
6 or
says.
something like that. He only had, like, 6.
Yeah. So, like, he's like, "Bobby, you're supposed to be helping to promote me," and Bobby is just not having it.
Mhm.
You wanna say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to, like, say, like, I felt this part aside from, like, obviously, the things that Kurt are doing are reprehensible, they're not okay,
No.
but I felt this part as somebody who creates content online, and has friends who have bigger followings, and you've asked them to share and they don't.
Mm,
I felt that. I felt that. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't do anything that Kurt would ever do, but it kind of made me sad because like when he was talking to Bobby and some of the stuff Bobby was saying, of course, before Bobby started highlighting and you're killing people on stream, I'm not going to share
yeah.
that. It reminded me of being like, hey guys, can you just like share this episode? And then people being like, yeah, 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 sure, and then never doing it
Yeah.
and then never
Yeah.
listening to
They
it
just
or never
kinda
watching it, never supporting it. And it's like it's kind of like you expect your friends to be the ones that support you the most. And like I know at the end, like at the end of that altercation, like Bobby's like he thinks I owe him something just because he used to babysit me. And it's like,
yeah.
but he considers you a friend, and if you weren't really his friend, maybe just tell him that you're not his friend. Like maybe
Yeah.
just tell him like, hey, we're not friends, dude. I mean, but then again, maybe he did because it is Kurt we're talking about. He could have very
It
well
is
said,
Kurt.
we're not friends, and Kurt would have been like, okay, but follow for follow.
It's true, though. We're not friends. Kurt, okay, but, like,
Like and
um,
subscribe.
like and subscribe. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So it's a bloody scene, of course. Kurt ends
Mhm.
up killing Bobby. He stabs him to death. Hijacks Bobby's stream and even films his body on the stream. And like all of the viewers of the stream, they're like fake. It's fake
Mhm.
blood. It's ketchup, and
They're
like
like, how did Bobby plan this? This is so well done.
yeah. And like I think it really goes to show, since Bobby's like main content is the like homeless heroes, where it's a completely staged thing where he's paying people to pretend to be homeless people, and he's giving money, and or he even does pranks on actual homeless people. So like everyone just knows Bobby's content is fake, and when it finally needs to be seen as real so someone could call the police, everyone, it's like a boy who cried wolf situation,
Mhm. It's like
nobody.
the YouTuber Brent Rivera.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's what it was reminding me of. Honestly, it was like a Brent Rivera type. I was like, oh yeah, the fake everything, and yeah, okay, well this isn't fake,
Yeah,
but your
not at
fans don't
all.
believe you. But your fans don't believe
Mm-mm.
you.
And so after that, we catch up with Jessie and her biggest simp, Miles, played by Kyle Mooney, as he drives to her comedy show. He tells her that she could be the next Chris Rock because Jessie has that quote classic black comic thing written all over her.
Cringe, so cringy. That
Yeah,
guy was so cringy.
he was so cringy.
He made me so uncomfortable too.
And I just like, in a way, I was like, they got Kyle Mooney on here to play the character that he like plays in every SNL sketch.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty
Yeah,
much, yeah.
and he did it well, and like I was not disappointed. Meanwhile, though, Daddy Arquette asked Kurt to give him a ride to his DJ show at the empty strip club in exchange for an autograph from the popular DJ Uno, who's played by Sunny Kim. Uno asks Kurt to take her to a famous taco truck and to get her the most famous thing on the menu.
Honestly, the all
Um,
the food really sounded good on that taco truck, and I'm kind of sad that I didn't get to have any of it.
like carne asada fries, wasn't that on there?
Yeah, carne asada fries. That sounds really good.
I'd mess that up.
Me too.
Yeah, so in this scene, of course, we have like Uno chilling in the car. She's posing with Bobby's gun that Kurt took after killing him. And she's just on her live stream, like, posing with it and everything. And it's awkward, but also believable.
Yeah.
They are approached at this time by two cops who notice that Uno is passed out in the car after taking a very tiny sip of the poison water, which I was like, damn, that killed her. That poison water's potent.
It is. Like, damn, what kind of poison did he use?
Yeah, for real. Like, what was in that little syringe? But yeah, so the cops are checking it out. They want to talk to Kurt since they see that he is a spree driver, and they have gotten word that there is a what they're calling the rideshare killer is on the loose, and they start giving Kurt like a sobriety test and asking him questions. The cops are also kind of scumbags though, because they're peeking into the window and they're like, "Oh, your girlfriend's kind of hot," which I
Yeah,
hated.
I hated
I
that too.
absolutely hated that.
Yeah.
In that moment, Uno wakes up and in a fear, she shoots the cop in the head, and Kurt could not be happier. He thanks God for letting him have some more time to um, get more viewers on his live stream, and he drives away. And actually, Kurt drives through a homeless community,
Oh
and
yeah.
he says that it's totally fine because they have no social media presence at all.
No
And
one
he
would miss
heads,
them.
yeah, no one would
That's
miss
what he
them and
says, is nobody
everything.
missed
Yeah,
them. Yeah.
which I was just like, gosh, this guy is seriously detached at this point.
Yeah.
Um, and he crashes his car, but still makes it in time to see Jesse's show, which is the most unfunny show ever, seeing as it's a comedy show and she takes a real serious turn. She rips on Kurt, she rips on Kyle Mooney's character as well.
Yeah. It was kind of reminding me of oh my gosh, I cannot remember the name of the comic, but there was a comic I watched her comedy show and it was like a big thing on Netflix in 2018. And it was like her last show that she was ever doing, and
Mm,
it turned very serious. Like the first few minutes were hilarious, and then and then she started talking about being assaulted in public because she was gay and all
mm.
this stuff, and it was like whoa, and then it just got like darker and darker. I was like, are you okay? Do you need to talk to somebody? Like,
Yeah, for real.
ma'am, it's like it was intense. It was not funny at all. Like it got like and that's kind of how I felt about the Jesse thing. Like I'm not going to say that that was a nod to that, but it kind of felt like that's what it was like alluding, was like she had this big like epiphany while being around
Mhm.
Kurt, and then got up on stage and just was like, I'm quitting. Like this is my goodbye. I'm quitting because I can't do this anymore. And it's like, okay, well, this is a
Mm.
comedy show, not a I'm quitting show. You could have done that on social media after the show, like
Yeah,
made a video.
exactly. Yeah, made a video or something. I don't know. Like, I was trying to put myself in the position of the people that were in the audience, and I mean, the audience loved it no matter what, but it felt
Mhm.
weird to me because I'd be like, I paid money to come to like a comedy show
Mhm.
and like laugh tonight, and you are like having this whole like come to Jesus moment on stage, and like, good for you, but I just want to laugh.
Yeah, I didn't pay for this. That's not
I
how I
didn't pay
paid
for
for
that.
it.
And the fact that that show was short, she ended that show real fast.
I know. Oh my
I don't
gosh,
know.
yeah.
I don't know. As you can see, I'm not a Jessie fan. But yeah, she does the show. I actually enjoyed Kyle Mooney's stand up before even more, even though the fans in the show didn't.
Mhm.
I was like,
I didn't
that's
I didn't
relatable.
enjoy his stuff, but that's because it was like very cringy. Like his jokes were very cringy, and I was like, this is jokes like high school kids would tell. And if I went to a stand-up show and some guy was doing this, I would be like, okay, come on. You're a grown man. You're a grown man. Let's tell grown man jokes. Let's not tell jokes like we're like 12 years old. You know, when you're 12 years old, those jokes are like okay. Or if you're doing it on social media on your YouTube channel or whatever, those jokes are okay. But when, I don't know. I also like I'm very picky about comedians anyways. Like I loved when we went to see Curtis Connor stand up. I thought his
Oh,
stand
so
up was
true.
fantastic. But his stand up was his brand, so I don't know. I guess it would be like I'd have to go to a comic that I like their brand of comedy, and I just didn't like his brand of comedy. I was like,
I
you're
lived
trying
for
too
it.
hard. You're
I
trying too
thought it was
hard, sir.
hilarious. I was the most I laughed during the entire movie.
I think
Yeah,
the most I laughed was Gummy Bear.
that's true. That was second place. That was second place for me. We do also notice that in the scene, Kurt had brought a gun to the show, which makes me think that he was going to assassinate her on stage to kind of get even more notoriety in that moment. But he
Oh
seems
yeah,
to
absolutely.
instead like listen in when she starts ripping on him and everything.
Mhm.
Also, she keeps calling his thing Squirt's World and not Kurt's World.
Mhm.
I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know if that's on purpose or not anymore.
I think it. Yeah.
But then Kurt dips from the show and he calls a ride on a competing rideshare app GoGo because Spree is down. There, I don't know, it's something about like a murderous Spree driver or something. Beats me.
No idea. No
No
idea.
clue. No clue. But Kurt kills the driver that picks him up off camera, and then he takes the car over just in time to accept a ride request from Jesse. This is all just perfect timing, as it's just after she roasted him on stage. Kurt takes us all on a ride into the final battle of the movie as he attempts to kill Jesse at his house.
Mhm.
And I wasn't too sure if we wanted to really get into like the ending of the movie or if we wanted to leave some things to be desired for our listeners.
We can just leave some things to be desired. You can imagine how the ending of the movie went. Um, I thought the ending battle was really, really tense, and I love the fact that he was still live streaming throughout the entire time, and that the
Yeah.
live stream was interacting with Jesse and like being like, "Girl, he's still alive, girl, girl." Like, girl, he's still alive. Like, girl, check this, check that. Like, I loved that aspect of it. And honestly, like, I have to give Jessie her flowers because she did everything a final girl is supposed to do. She didn't do any stupid moves like some of these final girls do, like
Mhm.
where they just oh, I'm gonna trip, or they do something stupid. Like she did the damn thing. She did the damn thing.
She did the damn
Um,
thing.
she might not be funny, but she's definitely a boss bitch for what she did.
She may not be funny, but she wants to live, and
you
for
know,
that,
and
she goes in Final Girl Hall of Fame.
she does. She's a modern final girl, and it's what she deserves. It's what she
I
deserves.
can agree
But
with that. I can agree
but
with that
um
for sure.
but yes, no. Let's leave the ending ambiguous. You guys can kind of figure out what you want to watch. The movie is on Hulu if you do want to watch it. Um so I kind of just want to get into final thoughts before we like share like our favorite kills and our rating on the movie.
Yeah.
Um like I said, I really love this movie. Like I genuinely forgot how much I liked it. I think the first time I watched it, I had a little bit of wine, and it was also 2020 and there was a million other things going on in my brain, and I did like it when I watched it then, but then I just never watched it again to like, like get to see if I still liked it.
Yeah,
Um
yeah. I really like this. It's a fresh take on the found footage genre in a way.
mhm.
I would really love to see more movies filmed like this, where
Mhm.
it feels like you're just following someone on a live stream. I mean, I watch live streams all the time from different content
Mhm.
creators, and this felt very believable.
It did. I also have to commend this because you mentioned found footage genre. A big staple of the found footage genre is unrecognizable people, because oftentimes you lose realism with found
Mm,
footage movies when you can recognize the people that are in the movie and point them out. This movie didn't have that problem. Um, like we said before about Joe Keery, he manages to balance that slow descent into madness perfectly. He plays that awkward, like, like, hey guys, it's Kurt's World 96. Like, he plays that so well. that you forget you're watching Steve Harrington from Steve the Hair Harrington from Stranger Things.
Mm.
And I love me some Steve Harrington as far as like he's had one of the best redemption arcs of a character in any show ever. Um but he Joe Keery really stepped outside of himself for this role. So when you're watching the movie, you're not automatically just constantly being like, "Hey, it's Steve, it's the hair,"
Yeah.
like you're like, "Okay, Kurt, you're kind of you're real to me a little bit, you're a little too real." And even with David Arquette showing up, like, yeah, he's probably, like, I would say, arguably the most famous face in the
Yeah, I would
movie.
say so as well.
He's been around for decades. His family's famous, like, pretty much his entire family's famous.
Exactly.
Um, and even him didn't take away from him being David Arquette didn't take away from the found footage realism. It's almost like you were watching an alternate reality where David Arquette was Joe Carey's dad, and it almost felt like that. You're watching an alternate reality, something that was like off to the. So I'm just pointing this out to say that people who make found footage movies shouldn't be afraid to cast big names, if the big names can act and if the director can direct. Because as great as it
Absolutely.
is to have that realism of like, I don't know who the heck this person is, like, you've got your Blair Witch Project, you've got your Paranormal Activity, you've got your
Mhm.
um Devil Inside movie, like where these people are unrecognizable, you will never see them in anything else ever again.
Right.
And it's sort of like, yeah, it's cool, but it's like it's kind of sad because it's like this is the only thing they'll really ever do, is this franchise or this story or this show or this movie.
Mhm.
So it's nice to see them include people. Like I said, Misha Barton was a pleasant surprise. I was like, holy crap.
Absolutely.
I was like, I haven't seen her in a long time. Like, she just showed up and she was just in the spree. Um, I thought that was really cool. And I think that people who might have slept on this movie because they're like, oh, it's the guy from Stranger Things. Like, no, I think you should give it a chance. I think you should watch
Absolutely. Do
it.
not sleep on this movie because it is like, I don't know, it's unexpectedly good.
hmm
And the more that I mean, I've watched it 3 times for the sake of this podcast, and every time I watched it, I gained more appreciation and more perspective in just, like, how much work Joe Keery himself put into this character, and I really hope to see him do more roles. I'd love to see him do more stuff in horror specifically.
Yeah, I would too as well. Like I think he's a very good actor. I think with the right people behind him, like he'll do a great job, and I just hope that this he gets something more he gets more stuff. I've seen some stuff on TikTok. I think it was last year when like Stranger Things was season 4 came out. I
Mhm.
did see some like I don't know if it was unused footage from the movie or stuff like that from Spree. But someone had actually made a Kurt's World account and was using footage that was not in the Spree
Holy
movie,
crap.
which people were thinking it was a possibility they were resurrecting the film, but they weren't. That they were gonna
Interesting.
have it, but it was footage that they did not include in the Spree movie. So I'm like, how did you get this? How did
Hmm.
you get this? I don't know. Maybe there's like a DVD with deleted scenes, so they were like, hey, but all I know is that yeah, because there was like one of him like brandishing a katana and like doing his whole like, hey guys, it's Kurt, and he was like doing like
What? A
and I
katana?
was like, yeah, he just had like a sword, and I was like, what is going on here? And I forgot about Spree, so when I saw, in the midst of scrolling through and seeing like a million fan edits of Joe Keery in Eddie's vest, all of a sudden here's him with a katana, like, hey guys, what's up? It's Kurt, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, he was in a horror movie. I forget. Um, But yeah, and then the main thing I really liked about this movie was the social commentary, which we've been touching on here and there as we've talked about this
Yeah.
movie. I It's really a good look at how we operate as a society now with social media. And while there's great things about social media, there's also like bad things about social media. Um and there is like for a lot of people there is this desperation, especially for people, I would say younger millennials and down, there is this desperation to work for yourself and to not have to be a slave to a company, to a corporation. There's a lot of people who want to start YouTube channels, want to be streamers, want to be TikTok stars, want to be influencers. They want to make money doing what they love, which is just whatever the heck they want, whether it's traveling, whether it's DJing, whether it's gaming, whether it's podcasting, like
So true.
whatever it might be. And as a society, people, these younger generations coming up have become more desperate. And then you have an app like TikTok where one video can make you famous.
Mhm.
One single video you can go viral and you can be like the most famous person in the entire like world in that moment. You can get brand deals. You can, be on talk shows, on in movies, have CDs. I mean, how many TikTokers are singers now? Some of them shouldn't be. But it's like there's so many. Every time I go on freaking Spotify and I go to like looking through playlists, I'm like, "Oh, that's a TikToker. That's a TikToker. That's a
That's
TikToker."
true.
I'm like, and it's like everybody wants to be famous, and it's scary when you see somebody like Kurt, because I think a lot of people do tend to feel that way when they're trying to create something that they love. Not saying that they're going to go out and hurt anybody, but it's this desperation like, please follow my account. Please like
Yeah.
my video. Please watch my video. I know that I've gotten caught up in the past when creating things, going on YouTube and looking at videos I've made and going, no one's watching this. No one's watching this. Why do I even bother? Why do I keep making these? Because no one's watching it. And you get frustrated because then you see other people going viral and making all this money, and you get like, why are you making money? You get like that irritation.
Yeah.
Um, Kurt's tale is very, very oh my gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? It's egregious. I don't
Yeah.
think there, I hope there's not anybody dumb enough to do what he does to get famous, but his feelings around being an e-celebrity are very, very, very realistic for many people.
Yeah.
And mine, I know my personal thing is like, mine's not even so much like oh, I need to be famous. It's just if I'm putting in a lot of work on something, I just want to know people are like watching it, because I'm like, I'm not going to put in all this work and spend hours and hours doing something just because I like to do it, necessarily, because at the end of the day, if I'm putting it up, it's because I want people to see it. If I wanted to just do it because I like to do it, I wouldn't share it. I wouldn't share it with the world. But it's like when you give your parents art to put on and they go, "Oh, that looks good." And then they just
We're
put it
putting on
they
the
put it down.
refrigerator.
Like they don't even care about it, or you're like, "Hey mom, look at what I did." And they're like, "Oh, that's nice, dear." Like that's how it feels when somebody doesn't like when people don't pay attention sometimes. And I know that, like I said, I've gotten to that point where I'm like, why am I even doing this? And I like decide I'm not going to do it anymore, or I get frustrated. And like I said, I've asked friends who have bigger followings to duet my TikToks or share things in the past. I haven't done that in years, but like in the past, I have. I've been like, hey, you've got like 6,000 followers. Maybe we can duet sometime. I've done it. I've done a Kurt. I've done a
Yeah, I've
Kurt.
done a Kurt. Oh
I've
no,
done a
that's a
Kurt.
new thing. Every time we
I've
find
been
ourselves being cringy, we have to be like, "I've done a Kurt."
I've done a Kurt, I've done it. So, and it's scary and it's sad because your self-worth gets linked to it. And,
It's
like one
true.
of one of the things that I think resonated the most with me in the movie was when Jessie was giving her unfunny um comedy special that she was doing. She said a lot of stuff that was real, though. I mean, like aside from the perspective of, yeah, you're supposed to be doing a comedy show. This
No,
is not the
yeah,
time or the place.
100%.
Um but one of the things that she mentioned was, you get so obsessed with like the numbers that it negates your self-worth. And it's like that's not, she's like, I looked at this guy and that's not what anybody should be like. And it's true, and nobody should be looking at the numbers and obsessing over how many people have watched this. Because if you keep at something, you'll find your audience. If you're good at what you do, you'll find your audience. People will like you. Someone will like you. Even if it's just 100 people that like you, they'll like you. Um, and you don't have to become a spree driver and poison some water to get them to like you.
Using some potent poison in that water too.
I mean, insta poison. You take one sip, and you're like,
Insta poison. Yeah, I mean, from so I've never really been the kind of person to try to be very relevant online or anything. This podcast is probably one of the biggest things I've ever done. I think the last time I ever tried any kind of internet show or something was like when I was in middle school and I did the Gino Valentino show.
oh my gosh.
But like, coming back into that now, if you can even say it's coming back into it, just stepping into something like this now where I'm doing this podcast with you, I can already see, like, how people could get caught up in this really fast. And if anything, I kind of appreciate the fact that I chose this movie for us to review so early in my time here with the podcast because it helps to give me that perspective moving forward on who who I don't want to be.
Don't do a
Um
Kurt.
don't do a Kurt. And if I do, I'm calling myself out. Doing a Kurt.
Doing a Kurt.
But yeah, it just I don't know, it gives perspective on who I don't want to be moving forward. You know, let's say if this thing ever takes off and it's successful in any kind of way, um, I know that I need to stay true to myself throughout that process, and I can't get caught up with the um need to be the most relevant and the need to get more followers and likes. Networking is important when you're
Mhm.
doing some kind of job like this,
Oh,
but
yeah.
there's a fine line between networking and being desperate and pleading for
Mhm.
recognition.
Mhm. You're not owed recognition just because you post something online. That was the lesson I had to learn.
Hmm.
And it's not the reason why I took a year off from the podcast from doing this podcast at all. Like, the reason I took a year off from doing this podcast was just health issues and also moving. So that's why I took a year off from the podcast, because it just was like everything just kept happening at once last year, and I just never got
Yeah.
the point to, like, okay, let me sit down and like record stuff. Um, but before that, like I said, like I would say mostly for me, it was like 2018, 2019, and maybe like the beginning of 2020. Like, and then I finally was just like, I don't care anymore. I don't care, like, about like, am I getting a ton of views on TikTok? I mean, I deleted TikTok. I deleted one of my old TikToks because I was tired of trying to compete with my friends who were getting thousands upon thousands of followers a day for posting like basic kind of stuff, like I was like out here doing like makeup and all this stuff, and then my friends are like
Hmm.
posting a TikTok of like their dog and getting thousands of followers, and I'm like, do I need to get a dog? Is that what I have to do?
Makeup and dog.
Exactly, makeup and dog. And just getting to the point where you're not obsessed with it, you're not like, it's not a like controlling your life. I mean, yes, I spend a lot of time working on the podcast, but I do it from a standpoint of I enjoy doing this. It's not about like, I don't really look at like how many likes things get or how many listens. Yeah, sometimes I'll sign on to the podcast home base and I'll see, oh, we've got like this many listens on one of the episodes. Cool, you know? And I might
Hmm.
share that with you, but I'm not like going, "Oh my gosh, only this many people have listened to this." Like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god," like I'm like, you know what? It's great that, this many people listen to it. That many people watched the video. This many people engaged with our posts. Um it'll get, if it's meant to be, it will be. And if it's something that's fun to do, just do it, You just do it.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. But it was a good choice for starting this whole process over for the podcast, and also for you really getting out and being like um on the podcast as well. It was a good choice. It was a very good movie. I enjoyed it. Um, I thought it was, really I say a fun movie, but it was a fun movie. I mean,
It
DJ
was, yeah,
Kurt.
I mean, it was an entertaining watch.
Hmm.
I mean, us as viewers, we know that this isn't real, and so we're able to sit there and be entertained by it. And
Hmm.
also the fact that we're being entertained by it, um, is the movie is spreading that message. Like once people know what the ending is and the very meta ending that it is, and
Hmm.
what we're actually watching, um,
Yep.
I think our listeners will understand that more. But it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's supposed to play on the fact that you're being entertained by this the entire time.
It kind of does. I will say this without spoiling the ending. It does throw in your face the sick fascination people tend to have online with killers and violence. It
Yes.
does sort of throw that in your face and make you realize, as the viewer who just spent almost 2 hours watching this movie, that you've basically taken part in glorifying a killer.
Yeah, exactly.
It throws that right
Makes
in
you
your face at
think
the end.
about that. It
Eh,
doesn't necessarily make you feel like a horrible person,
no.
but it does make you think about that, which that is important to do.
Mhm. And like the I mean the fourth wall break of like you realizing that like this entire time you were watching the movie you were essentially watching like I'll just say it like without spoiling it, like it's not going to really spoil it, but somebody made a compilation of, the live stream.
Yeah, it's a
um
fan made
it's a
video,
fan made
which
video.
is already the part where you're like, "Oh, a fan made, so me watching
Mm.
this would be me a fan of Kurt."
Mhm.
Also the, little, like, screen that they share at the beginning of the movie where, it says, like, Kurt has been uploading for 10 years and everything.
Mhm.
Um, when I rewatched the movie, I was like, "I should have known this was a fan video because this is written in Comic Sans."
Yeah, that was the first thing I noticed was that it was written in Comic Sans, and I was like, interesting choice. And then when it revealed that it was a fan video, I was like, that makes sense.
Mhm.
you know, because I was like, Comic Sans, that's pretty sus. Who makes a movie and uses Comic Sans? Come on. Unless you're like in third grade making a presentation for like a third grade or something like that.
Exactly.
All right. So what was your favorite kill in the movie?
I kind of already said it earlier, but it's definitely the, as Kurt says, the triple kill, I think.
That was the one I was
Where
gonna pick too.
right? I mean, how
That's the
could you
best
not?
one.
You've got the dog attack happening, as Kurt trapped both, who is it? Lala Kent, I think,
Mhm.
and, Frankie,
Frankie Grande.
Grande, like, in the sunroof of the car, and they're just getting mauled by dogs up there. And then you've got, Misha Barton,
Mhm.
who's about to get her head drilled in, and Kurt, of course, just has to do his signature peace sign at the camera first before he goes in for the
And
kill.
drills, yeah, goes and drills her. And that was the most brutal one.
It was.
That was the most brutal one because most of them are pretty tame. That one was like, holy crap, like yeah, he's that was kind of when you realized he's desperate for views. He's desperate
Absolutely.
because like
And he
before that,
doesn't care anymore.
yeah, before that, you had like what you call it, the Mario guy Mario.
Yeah,
You had that guy with him hitting him with his car, and that was as brutal as it got because the rest of them was just like poisonings. Um,
exactly.
but and even him was technically he was a poisoning first, and then hit him with the car. But that one was like, okay, Bobby said that you needed to up the violence in your or up your game in the stream because nothing's happening. So he said, all right, challenge accepted,
Yep,
and
and he
he
really went for it.
He really went for it, and I'm like, "Wow, that was insane." I remember I was just watching it like, "Oh my god." And like you said,
Mhm.
him throwing the peace sign before he sticks the drill in her head was like, and they don't
Yeah,
show all of that, which is great. They
which
don't
is good,
go
yeah.
to like so if you're like the kind of person like I will say this movie doesn't really go too hard with the gore. So if you're the kind of person who doesn't really like gore all that much, there's some gory like blood, there's some blood and stuff like that you
Yeah, there's
see and
bloody
like
faces.
bloody faces, but there is like no guts and like even like I said, that part could have been a lot worse, but they just show you him picking up the drill, throwing his peace sign, and then he goes to do it, and then the next cut straight to like him at the car wash washing blood off his windshield.
Yes.
So you get the gist of what happened, but you don't see what
Yeah,
happened.
you see enough and you cringe at it and you're like, "Oh my gosh,
Mhm.
this guy is insane." And the peace sign just really shows how much he doesn't care anymore as long as he's able to get his views.
Mm.
That's all he cares about.
Yep. So if it means he sticks a drill in Misha Barton's head, so be it.
So be it.
All right. So what? How many skulls out of 5 would you rate this movie?
Well, actually, I am going to say I'd give this movie 5 stars.
5 stars. We do skulls here. We're not a ride share. We do skulls here.
We do skulls. Listen,
We do
we are
skulls.
not rideshare.
We're not a ride share app.
My bad, I just had to.
No, no,
But
it's
no,
funny.
I really did appreciate this movie, and I honestly do need to. I'm going to give it 5 star or 5 skulls. Don't get
5
mad.
skulls.
5 skulls.
No, no, 5 skulls. Okay, yeah, no. I'm gonna give it 4 skulls. I really did enjoy the movie. I really did like love the movie. The only reason I'm giving it 4 skulls because I have to be that person. it's not scary in the traditional sense.
Truth.
Because there are people who might listen or watch this that might be like, "Oh yeah, but that movie's not even scary. It's not
And
scary."
it's not a
It's
scary
not.
movie.
It's scary if you think about it from the terms of of the real world. It's scary if you think
Mhm.
about it from the terms of somebody could do this. Somebody could try to do this because they want to be famous. But you also have to remember YouTube, Twitch, all those places would shut that
Yeah.
down so fast.
So fast.
Even if it was fake, it would be like, nope, streams cut off. You're fired. Here's the police. Like it would be done.
E
Um,
You're done.
you're done. Yeah, exactly. So, so that's the only reason why I'm giving it four skulls. Other than that, it's a well written, well acted movie. It's shot in a format that I think is a little bit easier for some people to follow when it comes to found footage. If there's shaky cam, you're not dealing with it too much.
Yes.
Um, it's a a fun movie. When I say fun, I don't mean like the subject matter is fun. It's just very fun to watch the movie. It's very entertaining. And yeah, if you like, found footage movies, or you like movies that have a little bit of like meta plot lines, this is a good movie. I think I would absolutely go ahead and watch this movie.
Agreed. Yeah. I definitely recommend giving this movie a watch. And 5 stars.
5 stars, yes. Make sure you like and subscribe and follow for follow. Nobody says follow for follow. What is
No
wrong with
one
you,
says
Kurt?
no.
All right. Okay, so moving on to our next little segment, we have some news in regards to horror this week. Gina, you want to go ahead with the first bit of news? I'm going to go ahead with the second bit of news.
Oh, okie dokes. I actually don't have that pulled up. So 1 second. Dun, dun, dun. Is that in the weekly ideas?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You're okay.
Oh, yes, welcome home. I
I was going to say we were
was
we
like, you
we
should
we talked
know.
about him a lot last night.
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, so yeah, so we actually filmed an episode for our Patreon yesterday where we do a deep dive into the horror ARG that is called Welcome Home. Um it's just us kind of doing a full overview of the website, getting to know all of the characters that are in this ARG, and then starting to look for some of the more spooky aspects of the ARG as well. And it was a lot of fun, and I think we both are simps now.
Oh yeah, we were having a good time last night filming this. We absolutely loved it. So I highly recommend checking this ARG out. We will be uploading a video to Patreon about it all, so you can check it out there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, check out the Patreon. We're going to try to film more content for it as time goes on. I think we're trying for weekly. Am I correct there?
So with the Patreon, I have been uploading our audio only podcast episodes a day early. So we upload every Wednesday. So on Tuesday, you get those a day early if you're subscribed to if you're a follower of tier 2. And then we're going to try to upload at least one video a month. Usually what we're going to have is called the bad movie of the month.
I'm so
Um,
excited.
Yep, and you'll get like our live, or not our live. We're not gonna be live streaming, but you'll get our reactions to a bad movie that we choose every month. And then if you are subscribed to the Patreon, you can suggest movies either for the main channel, like our regular everyday like thing that we do, or you can suggest movies for the Patreon. So if you have a bad movie that you want us to watch that we haven't watched, you can always let us know what we'll add that to the Patreon. But yeah, so we're gonna try to upload at least once a month for that, and then if we have something extra that we want to throw in, like this month we'll have the Welcome Home ARG, we'll do that. But those videos are going to be probably less edited. There will be some editing done, but not a lot of editing, and also very low key and mostly us just kind of goofing off, and probably not as structured as these ones are. So,
You get more of a feel for our personalities that way, I think, and I don't know, it was a really good time last night, and we're both Wally simps.
oh yeah, that's awesome. All right, so yeah, check out the Patreon if you want to see what we've got going on with the Welcome Home ARG. So,
Yeah.
all right, and then the other bit of horror news is not as fun, but it's something that I figured we could talk about because I do like to talk about drama in the horror world that goes on sometimes.
Tell us, what's tea?
The tea. So Resident Evil 4 remake came out, I think, a couple weeks ago, and it's been kind of just blowing up everywhere. Everybody's really loving this remake. I haven't played it yet. I love Resident Evil, and I'm hoping to get the opportunity to play it at some point soon, but we'll see. But recently, the voice actress who played Ada Wong, who's one of the female characters, who's a little bit flirty with Leon throughout the series, the voice actor who played her has deleted her Instagram account because she is being harassed because fans said, and get this, she's not sexy enough.
I can't stand people.
Yep.
Like, honestly.
They were going to her personal Instagram account and essentially bullying this woman. Her name is Lily Gao, and someone says, "You ruined the remake. I feel like I just wasted my money, and your voice acting was horrible in the RE4 remake. It sounded super stiff and there was nothing seductive about it. It didn't fit at all. OMFG. I hope they don't hire you as Ada's voice actor for another game."
Wow.
And more recently, this was 6 days ago that they dropped this. Where and people, of course, are sticking up for her. A lot of it is people are mad because I think she was in the live action Resident Evil movie that came out a couple years ago that bombed.
Mhm.
Where they were trying to reboot the franchise and everybody hated it. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know if it's any good, but almost everybody I know said it was garbage. Um, I think that's part of it. They didn't like her in general, so they're just mad about it. But yeah, she's deactivated her Instagram account, and more recently, Leon, the voice actor that plays Leon's voice in the games, has basically come out and said, "I'm sorry your life has been so bad that you have to do that, but it's pretty sad." So Leon S. Kennedy is not having any of your shit, guys. So you
No,
better
not at
stop.
all.
And some of the discourse I've been seeing, especially like on the hellscape that is Facebook, is people have been saying that they're allowed to complain about something they don't like. They're allowed to criticize. Um, so like, and like my whole thing is, you're absolutely allowed to criticize something. You're absolutely allowed to say you don't like something. We obviously we do it all the time in our everyday lives, but I feel like there's this um lack of knowledge that people have, that you're talking to real people when you're talking online. And a lot of the people on Facebook were like, "Well, I thought her voice acting was garbage, and I don't know why they replaced the one that played her in RE2, and I'm allowed to tell her that." And I'm like, no, write a review, write a blog, talk
Yeah,
about it on your own personal page, but don't go to this woman's page and harass her for
harass her,
doing her
exactly.
job.
Would you say that to her face in person? And if your answer is yes, then you're
You're a
not
horrible
a good
person.
person at
You're
all.
a horrible
You're a
person.
terrible person.
Yeah. And that's just like, I think that's the problem, like that we have, like that the internet just has right now, is that people just don't know how to talk to each other. And again, it's one thing if you want to post on your own Twitter account and say, "God, the person they got that played the voice actress for, or the person that does the voice for Ada is just so bad in this game, it takes me out of it." Okay, that's your own personal account. But then if you're tagging her and you're saying like,
Mhm.
"LOL, you're the worst. You're awful. I hate you. Why did they I hope they fire you. Like, oh my god, you ruined the game for me. You're the worst." What's wrong with you? Why you got to tag her? Who
Absolutely.
cares? Like, there's yes, she has to be able to accept criticism, and I'm not saying that she if I'm not saying that because I know there's the argument to be had, well, if you don't like the heat, then get out of the kitchen. Can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. Um But at the same time, the level of harassment that people on the internet give to creators in general just because they think they can,
Mhm.
we need to keep remembering that these people are humans. And I know
They're
that
human beings.
it's gonna fall on deaf ears because people love to troll, people love to make
Yeah.
other people feel bad about themselves because that's the hot thing to do ever since social media came out is let's make you feel really bad about yourself because I don't like myself and I just want you to feel bad about yourself too. Or you annoy me and I don't like something you do, so I'm gonna put you down. And it's like, yeah, okay. That's got to be boring though. I mean, again, criticism is criticism and it is fair. And I like I said, I haven't really watched any gameplay, so I don't know what her voice sounds like in the game.
Yeah.
But I'm not really somebody that plays the game. I'm playing for Leon. I'm not playing for Ada, okay? I'm playing for Leon. Let's be real. I don't care. I mean, Ada's a great character, but when I'm playing Resident Evil games, I want Leon. That's is Leon there? Okay, I don't care what Ada sounds like. Ada could sound like the frog from Rocco's Modern Life and I would be fine with it.
Ada can sound like this throughout the whole thing, and that's totally fine.
Yep, as long as Leon is there and he's still being Leon.
Yeah, I mean, I think people just need to remember that there is giving criticism and saying like how we do. We give feedback, we give
Mhm.
criticism, not that anyone's going to take it, but we're just saying our opinions. But then there's
Mhm.
harassing people. There is um just basically ruining somebody's life. Like maybe not
Mhm.
forever, but for that moment in time, like the fact that she has to disconnect from the internet when this is probably an exciting time in her life because she's,
Mhm.
done this wonderful project. Um Now that all of that is just going to be overshadowed with just hate, and I'm sure people have given death threats because people give death threats for any little thing these days.
Mhm. Oh
um
yeah. And all I gotta say is, just everybody remember that the internet decided to bully a child when she got cast as Ellie because they were not attracted to her. And I
mhm.
still think that's disgusting, and that shows
It is
how reprehensible of a person you are because Ellie is a child.
a child,
Ellie is 14 in the
a
first
literal
game,
child.
and you guys bullied Bella Ramsey because you're not attracted to them, and you didn't think they were attractive enough to play Ellie. And I'm like, but Ellie's a child. I don't care that it's a grown woman that plays her behind the scenes. Ellie's a child.
Mm-mm. Yeah, that made me uncomfortable too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But that's all I have for the horror news. The Resident Evil 4 game I've heard has been getting rave reviews. It's considered one of the best remakes of the franchise thus far. And I've never played the original Resident Evil 4, but I know that's like pretty much the fan favorite of the games. So for people to say that this Resident Evil 4 is better than the original Resident Evil 4, it's the best game in the series now. That's saying a lot. So I'm
Yeah.
excited. I can't wait to get my hands on a copy of that game and play it because I
Check it
do
out.
love me
Yeah.
some Resident Evil, and I'm excited. I just love Resident Evil. All right. So
Are we moving on to our next segment? Do we put the lasers in now? Doo-doo-doo.
yes. All right. So you guys know we're trying to do some fun stuff at the end of every episode because it's fun to talk about a movie and review it, but it's also fun to talk about the things we like about movies so you guys can get to know our taste when it comes to horror. So last week we talked about our top 5 favorite scary movies, like not the scariest, but movies that we personally loved. And this week I decided it would be a good idea for us to talk about the best opening scenes in horror movies. 5 of the best in our opinions. So if you disagree with that, that's okay. If you disagree with our opinions on the best openers, that's okay. If you have different openers you might like, then you can always let us know. We love hearing about what everybody likes, and you might have openers for movies we've never even seen. So like
Absolutely.
might
Yeah.
it might intrigue us, and be like, oh yeah, I know somebody suggested a movie on TikTok recently that we should watch. I think it was the original Pet Cemetery because I haven't seen that. I've only seen the remake.
No. Same. I've only seen the remake.
So
That would be cool to check out.
someone said the original Pet Cemetery. So we're all for that. So we're doing 5 of these, but I also have one honorable mention. Um so I'll go first cuz you went first last week.
Yeah, I was about to say you should go first this time.
Okay. So my honorable mention, because I wanted to put this on the list, but the other five were just too iconic. I didn't want to take something off. So my honorable mention is the opening scene of Jordan Peele's Get Out. Um, so
Yeah.
that scene, for those who haven't seen it, it's a scene of a black man walking through an affluent neighborhood, and he's talking on the phone to somebody, trying to figure out how to get to that person's house. And as he's walking, there is a car that is slowly following him, and he notices it. He walks away and starts muttering to himself that he's not going to deal with it. As he goes across the street, he turns around and looks, and the car doors open, and a man in all black and like a night looking outfit, like he has like a helmet on and everything, grabs him and stuffs him in the back of the car, which is how the scene opens. On its own, it's a creepy scene, unsettling, but it's the song that really takes it over the edge. The song that's
Mhm.
playing from the car, which is this creepy old timey song that's like, "Run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run." That song sends chills up my spine every single time I watch that movie. I'm like,
Mm-mm.
it's imagine you're walking in the middle of the night trying to find your friend's house, your homie's house, whomever's house, and some car is sitting there with the door open, and you hear that song. I'm taking the advice of the song. I'm running. I'm running
Running.
the
Yeah,
opposite
exactly.
direction.
I'm a bunny rabbit. I'm about to hop out of here, okay?
I am gone. I am gone. So that's my honorable mention is Get Out.
I think we should at some point cover like the influence of music in horror
Mhm.
movies and how it
Oh
can change
yeah.
the scene. Because
Oh
now that's
yeah.
us talking about Gummy Bear and the Run Rabbit Run. But
Mhm.
like two completely different songs, but they still add this aspect to the scene that makes it
I'll
feel weird. And they're not horror songs at
Oh
all.
yeah, I'll add that to the list of great usage of songs in a horror movie.
I agree.
You
Yeah,
know,
I think
and
that's gonna
and
be good.
I'm not going to include Scream in that one because I do not like how in every Scream movie they include Red Right Hand by Nick Cave. It's like a joke at this point. I'm like, oh, and there it is. There's Red Right
Here we
Hand.
go again. Okay, so I guess I should do my honorable mention. I made this one an honorable mention only because I talked briefly about this opening scene in last week's episode of our podcast. And that's the opening scene for Saw. Um, I'm leaving it as the honorable mention.
Oh yes.
Yeah. I wanted to put it on my list, but I'm like, no, I already talked about it. But I mean,
It's
come
okay.
on. It's the fact that it ties in so well at the end. You
Mhm.
literally open up the movie with him pulling the plug on the drain in the bathtub and the key going down the drain. And it's the
Mhm.
key for him to get out.
Yep. That's very very good. That was a very good tie in there.
Exactly. It just like I cannot express enough how the first time I saw this movie and when he's just like, oh, the key to let yourself out is in the bathtub. I was just like, "Oh my
It's one of those wah 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 moments.
god." And you can even see on Homeboy's face. He's like, "Damn."
Yep, exactly. Oh my god.
Ain't nothing else. He's just like, "Damn."
Like, well, I screwed up.
Yeah, done goofed.
You done goofed. All right. Well, that's great. I love that. All right. My number five pick for best opening scenes in horror movies. This is a horror movie that it took me a few watches to actually really appreciate this movie, but now it's one of my favorite horror movies like of all time, and that's David Robert Mitchell's It Follows.
Mm.
The opening scene of this movie, actually, when I saw it in theaters, this was probably my favorite part of the whole movie, aside from the iconic jump scare that happens later on in the movie with the tall man coming out of the shadows behind the friend. Um, so this movie's all about a girl who contracts a sexually transmitted curse. It's not a
Oh no,
disease; it's a
that's a thing now.
curse, apparently. So basically, what the whole premise, like long story short, is once you get this curse, you are now followed by something that only you can see. It
Mm.
changes form. It can look like somebody you know, it can look like somebody you don't know, it can have irregular proportions. Like I said, the iconic jump scare from the movie is like a really tall guy that's almost touching the ceiling, bounding down the hall out of the darkness. It's so scary and it still freaks me out to this day. Um And the beginning of this movie sets the tone perfectly because you have a girl running out of her house and she's clearly being chased by something, but you can't see it. And the entire time she's running, the camera's just following her. Her parents come out, they're like, "Where are you going? What are you doing?" And she's like, "I'm fine. I'm fine." And she's standing in the road staring at something, but you can't see it. And then eventually she gets in her car, she drives off, she goes to the beach. It cuts to a scene of her leaving a message on her parents' answering machine, crying, saying she's sorry for everything she's ever done. And then it's a hard cut and it's her laying on the beach dead with her leg bent backwards, like with
Mm-mm.
her foot facing her face.
No,
Um
Lace don't do that.
they don't do that. The best part about the thing that makes this scene though is this bitch was running in heels the entire time. She
She
was
sees
trying to
that walk.
she was trying to get away from this entity that only she could see in high heels. um but I love the scene because it does set up the premise very well. It's really well done in the sense of like it gives you that sense of dread, like what is she running from? You can't see it. You can only see her reaction to everything. And then of course the absolute like jump the I mean it's a hard jump cut from her on the phone
Yeah.
talking to her parents to her laying on the beach dead with her leg bent backwards, and you're just like, oh, I wasn't expecting to see like body horror like out of the gate. Like, okay.
Mm-mm-mm.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's my number five pick as it follows.
Yeah, it kind of like gives you that feeling of, oh, that's what this movie's about.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
My number five on my list is When a Stranger Calls, not the JoJo one.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. No, the
um,
OG one, the
the
OG.
OG, yeah. The JoJo one is my preferred one though, since that's the one I watched when I was younger. But
Hmm.
no, the OG, it just
It's really
um
good. It's iconic.
it's iconic, exactly. It's iconic, and I mean between the two movies they definitely did it better in the OG. And just like just somebody calling and asking like, "Hey, have you checked the kids?" And it's like, how how do you know I'm babysitting? How do you know there's kids involved?
Yep.
And just like already we're just out the gate. There's somebody in this house, and this babysitter just became final girl.
Yeah, and it's like the call is coming in from inside the house.
Yeah,
You
exactly. I
trace
don't
the
know. It
call.
just really it sends a chill down my spine every single time because that was my worry when I used to babysit in high school.
Mm.
Is just like, oh my gosh, not only do I have to save myself, but I gotta save this damn kid too. um yeah, that's kind of it for me. I don't know. You're always so much better with like explaining things than I am.
It's okay. It's okay. All right. No, I'll go ahead and do my number four pick. My number four pick is the opening scene. It is iconic, one of the two most iconic on my list. The opening scene for Halloween 1978 by John
Yay.
Carpenter. So the reason why this one's so low is because this is again one that's extremely iconic, and it's also one that is extremely prevalent in pop culture. So everybody kind of knows the story of Michael Myers, but I can imagine watching this movie for the very first time and that reveal that it was a
Yes.
child that just stabbed his sister was probably jaw dropping back in the day. Like it probably floored people when you just hear the mom go, Michael, and then you see that it's a kid. It's like,
Mm-mm.
oh, it's a child. That's a child.
That's a child. That's a baby.
Like and I love the opening scene. The music, you cannot go wrong with the music, the iconic
No.
Halloween music. I always make jokes about how fast Judith's boyfriend is. If you know, you know. um but yeah, I absolutely love that opening scene. It sets the tone for the movie. And for me, it's kind of a comforting opening horror movie scene because
Yeah.
it's kind of the scene that when I'm watching the movie, because usually it's around Halloween time that I'm watching the original. It feels like Halloween. When I put that movie on and the music starts and you see the house and everything, I'm like, ah, it's Halloween. Like it's Halloween and it's Halloween.
And it's Halloween.
So yeah, so that's my number four pick is Halloween.
Sweet, sweet. I'm gonna move on to my number three pick then, which
Did
is
you do your number
shock.
4?
My number 4? Oh, no, I didn't. I'm looking at my list here, and I'm just counting Saw with how I
Oh.
have it written. So never mind my
Oh,
number
no.
4 pick, not my number 3.
It's okay. It
My number
happens.
4 pick is Friday the 13th.
Mm,
Shocker, I know.
it's okay.
I just love the fact that we're actually getting to see Pamela's like first kills that happen I think like a year after Jason died. So, we've got everyone sitting around the fire, everyone's singing, it's wholesome. And then we move over to two of our counselors that are about to get freaky deaky.
Mhm. Do the do.
And we're watching everything from Pamela's point of view, which is how we see most all of the kills in the movie. Um, but it's cool for the first time, and the one of the counselors is just like, "Oh, hey, how you doing there?" Well,
Mhm.
nothing's going on. We're just
It's like,
doing
yeah,
our
nothing's going
taxes.
on. Yeah, just doing your taxes. That's what they call it these days.
Taxes, yes. um, but it's just like watching it from her perspective. Just like is I don't know. It was new for me at the time when I
Mhm.
watched it. But
Yeah.
of course, the same thing happens in Halloween as well, where we're watching it from Michael's perspective, and I think it they mirror each other well in that right.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, but I love how casual it is. I just love how it just feels like I'm watching a Disney Channel movie at first, and then it gets dark really fast.
Oh
Also, I really
yeah.
want one of those shirts,
Oh
the
yeah.
neon yellow shirts. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure you can find them somewhere. I'm sure you can find them somewhere.
I'm looking.
All right. Okay. My number 3 pick, surprise, surprise, is the opening to the original Scream movie, Wes Craven's
Ooh.
Scream. Um, So, we all know how this one goes. Drew Barrymore's home alone at night making some popcorn. She gets a phone call. The phone call is actually Ghostface, and he's like, "What's your favorite scary movie?" And she's like, "Oh my god, I don't really want to talk to you." And it's like, it devolves into chaos as the movie goes, as the scene goes on. This one's iconic for a number of reasons. You had one of the biggest stars at the time, Drew Barrymore, in the opening scene being killed, which set the precedent for a lot of horror movies that followed, where people who were big stars at the time got into horror movies where there were maybe lesser known stars, and they were like, "You can kill me off in the opener. I'll be the Drew Barrymore." You often hear that in horror a lot. People will say like, "Oh yeah, she's the Drew Barrymore of the film." You know what they're talking about. I don't think that they've been able to come close with such an iconic opener in any of the other Scream movies. I would say that Scream 6 so far has been the
Mm.
closest. Um, there's a lot of bait and switches in that one, and there's definitely a lot more
Yeah.
brutality in that one. Um, but the original Scream opener is just, and to be quite honest, I saw Scream as an adult. I never got to see it as a kid. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, "How did you not know what the opening scene was going to be?" I didn't know what the opening scene was going to be. First of all, I don't watch scary movies, so don't even say, "Well, it was a scary movie." I don't watch those movies. I hate them. I think they're gross. So I don't watch those movies. So I did not see scary movies. So if they parodied it, I didn't see it. You know, I only saw what was quote unquote memed back in the day, which was the "was up." That
Yeah.
was all I saw.
Honestly, for me as a kid, I mean like a kid like elementary school, I frequently confuse Scream and Scary Movie as being the same movie.
Well, fun fact: the original title for Scream was "Scary Movie."
Oh, that is funny.
That's a fun fact. It was supposed to be called Scary Movie originally. Um, but yeah, so when I watched Scream for the first time, my jaw genuinely dropped when it showed you her hanging from the tree with her entrails hanging out. Because I didn't
Mhm.
think it was gonna be that gory. I didn't think it was gonna be that gory. I was like, oh wow, gore. I wasn't expecting that. I thought there was just gonna be stabbings. I didn't think they were
Correct.
gonna go full Jason Voorhees with this. Like, damn,
Jason.
okay. Um, but yeah, no, I love the opening for that movie because it sets the tone of the meta horror film, especially when they start talking about Nightmare on Elm Street and you're like, Wes Craven, ha ha ha, and stuff like that. Also love the trivia game that they play, and when she starts screaming that the killer from Friday the 13th is Jason, and she's like, I've seen that movie a million times, and he's like, if you had, then you would have known that his mother Pamela Voorhees is the killer in Friday the 13th. I was
Mhm.
like, because I was the first thing when he said who's the killer in Friday the 13th, I was like Pamela Voorhees. And then she screamed Jason. I was like, "You're dead." I
You're
was like,
dead.
"You're dead." And I hadn't even seen the OG Friday the 13th. I just knew that because I saw the remake of Friday the 13th. So
Mhm.
I just knew that. Like I was like, "Oh yeah, she was the original. Yeah, she was the original killer." Like then Jason came in the second one. You
Exactly. He
know,
was like, "Y'all killed my mama?
like hold up.
Her head told me that you killed her."
It's like y'all are weird. The Voorhees family's weird. But yeah, so that's why, but I put it at number 3 because again it is like very iconic, it's very well known, it's memed, it's parodied, it's a staple in pop culture. So I didn't want to put it any higher because I feel like the last two on my list deserved higher spots because they're not
Mm,
as prevalent when people talk about great opening scenes in horror movies.
I respect that. I really do. But that is, I know for a lot of people that would probably be number one in their list too.
I think it's between that and the movie Ghost Ship, which Ghost Ship is not on my list, even though that
Mm,
opening of that movie is iconic. But that
I didn't
movie's
even
so
consider
bad.
that one.
That movie's so bad. I just don't even want to give it that time of day. Plus that one is kind of like the beginning of Ghost Ship is like the ending of the movie The Mist. Every single person who's ever watched a horror movie will tell you the ending of The Mist is fantastic and the beginning of Ghost Ship is fantastic. Let's talk
Mm,
about something else.
so
Let's
true.
talk about something else.
So true. Yeah.
You know,
um, am I good to go with my number three?
go ahead.
Alrighty. So my number three is actually Trick or Treat.
Oh, it's such a great
I
opening
was
scene.
gonna say you're
Such
gonna.
a great opening scene.
Why didn't she
I
listen?
I love that scene so much. Oh god, I love that movie so
All
much.
you had to do
Oh.
was not blow out the jack o' lantern.
Mhm.
Listen to your
Yes.
husband. I know most of us don't like
Exactly.
to, but
In that case, she should have.
she should have. Yeah, so basically what happens in the opening scene for Trick or Treat is that the wife Emma, she is basically like ready to take down all of the Halloween decorations and like do away with Halloween as soon as it's over that night. And her husband's like, honey, maybe you should just leave the jack-o'-lantern lit until midnight. Like it's a superstition. And she's like, nah. My girl says nah. And she goes ahead and blows out that jack-o'-lantern. And my boy Sam, who he's very adamant on his traditions. He was not vibing
Oh
with
yeah.
that.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
And basically she gets ambushed and she is killed. We don't get to actually see who kills her. And later her husband wakes up from his little nappy time and he finds her dead with the decorations, which is freaking sick.
Mhm. Oh yeah, that movie is definitely great. Fun fact, when I worked at Spirit Halloween in 2020, that was like our most popular IP. Between that and Hocus Pocus, everybody came in to buy trick or treat stuff and Hocus Pocus stuff. And my last week of working at Spirit, we got Sam dolls, like little plushy dolls,
Cute.
and I made sure I set one aside on my last day. I purchased it, and they only got four, and I said I don't even care. I said, I don't even care. I said, because this is going to be gone the second we put it on the shelf. And I was not lying. It was gone like the next day. Like all of the ones aside from the one I put aside, all of them were gone the next day. People
Mm-mm.
ran in. As soon as they saw trick or treat stuff, they were like, shoom. And then I also watched that movie because everyone, when I worked at Spirit, was like, how have you not seen that movie? It's amazing. Um, so it is a great movie. It is
For me,
fantastic.
it is often forgotten, but I was trying to like really think when I was going through
Hmm.
the list of horror movies, and we just actually spoke about it on the phone recently.
We did, because I was
Yeah,
talking about my one gripe with the movie.
it's okay. I'm gonna do the Shay edit.
You know, if you can't do it, let's call out to our viewers. I have something called emetophobia, which is a fear of vomit. If anybody can edit out the vomit scene from that movie and then just send me a clip of it with no sound, like you could just play like that like stock music that's like do 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 thing
I was
in
about to
that
say it.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he was absolutely terrifying, especially in that scene. He was absolutely terrifying. And I I was completely afraid of him from that moment, from the like the very moment. I was completely like, wow, you're really scary. Like you're really like you're a threat. Like I feel threatened by you. Whereas like I know this is controversial to say, I love Tim Curry, but with Tim Curry's, he was more of a clown. He was more goofy.
Yeah.
And when I saw that opening scene with like, like getting to watch it as an adult, I was like, it's not really all that scary. Like he doesn't really scare me like or anything like that. He's creepy, but he's not scaring me. He's not scaring me. He's not like,
Terrified me.
oh, I'm sure,
I
and the
mean, you
thing
know
is
how
like,
bad I had that as a kid, that fear.
yeah, yeah. And I had a really bad fear of clowns too, but like I think it's because the movie was so it was like everybody made it so antagonistic when I was a kid. Like the kids I knew talked about the movie like he was like the devil, like Tim Curry's
Yeah.
Pennywise was the devil, and like you don't want to look, you don't want to see him. He's so scary.
Mhm.
And then like okay, I never watched it as a kid. And then you go and you watch it as an adult and you're like, this is corny. And I think it's because I missed that pivotal section of being a child and trying to watch that, and then jumping straight to being an adult and trying to watch it, going, this is corny. Like, it's not scary. Like, there's nothing scary about his Pennywise. Like, he's a great actor. He's a great Pennywise, but he's not scary to me. And I feel
Hmm.
like if I had seen it when I was a child, probably would have scared the crap out of me, especially considering I was afraid of clowns. But I was already afraid of clowns when people were telling me about that movie. So I was like, I'm not watching that. I have
Yeah.
no desire to watch that. Like, they're like, that'd be like, that's like people when they would tell me when I was a kid to watch Arachnophobia. Why?
Why?
I have that. Why would I do it? Why would I do it?
Why would I watch a film that is literally named after my biggest fear?
Exactly. So it's like I don't need to watch. I was like at that age. I was like I don't need to watch it. I'm already scared of clowns. Like I don't need to solidify that fear. Like the only time I really saw stuff with clowns is when clowns would just randomly pop up in horror movies like Poltergeist, you know. And I'm
Hmm.
like, but I didn't actively seek out clown based horror films. I was like, no, I'm good. I don't need. I'm afraid of clowns. But you know, as I got older, I was like, okay, I do want to see this remake because it does look scary. I'm gonna watch the original. And I watched the original, and I'm like, so a lot of us were just scared of a lot of you guys were just scared of this because y'all were very young. Like a lot of my
Yeah.
friends, like in middle school and elementary school, were just scared of this because they were like 5 and they were like, "Oh my god!" And it's like, and why were you watching this when you were 5? Where were your parents? Where were your parents? Why were they sitting you down and having you watch this? Because I'm pretty sure if I had watched it as a kid, I would have been terrified of it, you
Absolutely.
know.
Yeah,
But
same.
as an adult, I was like, Bill Skarsgård's is way scarier. He's way
Just the
scarier.
drool, the
The
everything.
eyes going to the sides and
Mm,
the voice, the way he does the way he does. I mean, we've memeified Pennywise, you know, in our friendship, and you know,
absolutely.
we've memeified him. So I think we're both desensitized from Pennywise, but at the same time, I still feel if like I was like minding my own business somewhere and he just popped up, I'd be like, I'm good. I don't want anything you're selling. Sorry.
And like, I don't want any. Thank you.
All right, go ahead with your number 2 pick.
My number two. So my number two is like kind of like an interesting one. It's not necessarily a scary opening. It was scary for me, and it actually left me thinking about it a lot in my teenage years. After I watched the movie, and that is the Carrie remake, or I mean, honestly, the opening for both movies is about the same.
Mm.
But how we're opening up with Carrie having her period for the very first time,
Mm.
and just the absolute judgment that she gets from all of her peers. And,
Mhm.
everyone's throwing, pads and
Tampons
tampons
and
at her.
pads.
Saying plug it up. And like, I don't know, it really like preyed on my own fears at that time, when I was
Mhm.
a teenager. And, I feel like we've all had those moments when it's like, hey, can you check me? And, we're all like afraid
Mhm.
of like
Yep.
being exposed for something that is so natural and so normal.
Yep. I
Um, go for it.
I was just gonna say, like, I have a horror story. Like, there was a girl in when I was in middle school that she had her period really badly one day, like on a chair. Like, it was just really bad, and like
Yeah.
the way the class like laughed at her, I was
Yes.
horrified. I'm like, why are you laughing? Like, who cares? Like, let her go to the bathroom. We'll clean up the chair. It's fine. Like, let's
It's
move on.
fine. Let's
Let's.
just like keep going. Like she does not need this attention on
And they
her.
were like, and I think they tried to like bully her after that. Like,
It's a shame. I don't know. It's hard like stepping into this new phase of your life and just basically finding out like, "Hi, welcome to womanhood. Get ready to be judged."
yeah,
Everyone's here
that's
with
a good point.
pitchforks.
That's
Yeah.
a good point, you know. And then on top of that, when you think about within the context of the movie, like her religious upbringing, and
Yeah, for so many people they're like, "Am I dying?" or like you
hmm
never know. And I don't know, it just like I had to rate it up high because of how much it affected me when I watched it, and like just how much I laid awake at night thinking about that scene. And I would literally go back and forth between the original and the remake because they were both on
hmm
Netflix at the time, and I would watch
mm,
the opening scenes and compare it and just like get that that weird
Mhm.
unsettling feeling. Like I wasn't like scared like ah,
Mhm.
but I just it felt so poetic, especially for the fact that like at the end they dump pig's blood on her
Yep.
and we start the movie with her bleeding and just like those kind of fears that we've all menstruating humans have experienced at one point in time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, it's time for our number 1 picks.
Woohoo.
My number 1 pick is probably going to be a little bit controversial because
I'm
some people
excited.
do not consider this a horror movie, but I think given the subject matter, it is definitely a horror movie because who would want to be in this situation and deal with this? Now I also need to say I'm not here for shark slander. I'm not here for shark slander. They do not eat humans on purpose. Yeah, sharks usually only bite you if they think that you are something that they eat. They do not usually devour people. To be fair, the real thing that we all need to be afraid of within the animal kingdom that eats people are gators, not sharks. Gators.
Gators.
Anyways, and
They
that's
taste
coming from
good though.
Flor. They do, and that's coming from Floridians. It's coming from Floridians. But my number 1 scene is the opening scene of Jaws. Um, Jaws. I recently rewatched this movie because my roommate had never seen it, and it still makes my skin crawl. The opening scene. So in the opening scene, it's like a bunch of kids at the beach having a good time, and then 2 kids break off to go, do the do, get freaky deaky, but not really. Then the girl decides she wants to go into the ocean and swim naked, as one does. And then the guy is supposed to go in with her, but he's too drunk and he passes out on the beach. As she's swimming, the what makes this scene so great is that you do not see a fin. They don't play the iconic dan it music in the background. Um, you just see this girl swimming. It seems like a very serene, moment. And then she starts to jerk underneath the water. And you can see that she's trying to struggle to get away from something, and then it's just whipping her from one side of the water to the next. And the thing is violently dragging her. And she's treading water, she's screaming, she's splashing, and then she just goes under. And it's just silent. And to this
Mhm.
day, that opening sequence gives me chills because A, that can happen. Maybe not from sharks, but something else could do that to you. There's a lot of stuff in the ocean we don't know. That can happen. So out of everything we watch in horror, that's like the most realistic situation. You could get, we've got climate change going on. Something could resurface from the water and drag you down. You never know. The ocean's a scary place.
It's a scary
Um,
place.
and it's also the way it's done, how it's done in a way where it's focusing mostly on her reactions. You get a few shots under the water where you see her legs kicking as the shark is, from our point of view, the shark is getting closer and closer. It was supposed to be the shark. And then after that, we don't see anything else from under the water. We see her treading water, going down, up, flailing around, her body just being like kind of like a rag doll, almost just shaken
Yeah.
almost, and screaming, begging for help, and then just under. And that last moment of her going under and the silence is like bone chilling, completely bone chilling. Because at that moment, you're like, what if that happens though? What if I go to the
No, it's
beach and
true.
somebody that happens? Because again, it's like, yeah, you can, a slasher can happen. A guy in a ride share could decide he wants to go viral that day. All sorts of things can happen within horror scenarios, but they're very unlikely. At the beach, something could happen to you. You never know. You never know. Um, and again, this is coming from someone who lived in Florida their entire life, and I've been to the beach a lot. And even after seeing Jaws, I went to the beach. I mean, God, for a while, every 4th of July, they would play Jaws. And I'm like, this is the worst time to do this. Why are you playing this? Like, everybody's at the beach. There was one time I went with my friends to the beach to watch Jaws. We went to the beach to watch Jaws. I'm like, the irony, guys. We are watching a movie about everybody dying at the beach while we're at the beach. What is wrong with us?
That's pretty great
Um,
actually.
Yeah, no, I forgot. I mean, it was like a long time ago. I was like in elementary school, but it was like in Naples. They had like a movie day on the beach. I don't know if it was actually for 4th of July, but it was like a movie day or something on the beach where they had like a projector set up and you could like, go and watch the movie. And the movie they chose was Jaws. I was like tone deaf.
Read the
Tone deaf.
room.
Read the room. Read the beach, guys. Like
Read
you're
the
literally
beach.
we're literally on the beach right now. Like, come on. Um, but that opening scene, like again, I know some people argue that Jaws is not a horror movie in the traditional sense because, it's more and but to be fair, animal-based horror is like a huge thing. There's Lake Placid, there's Anaconda, there's arachnophobia, animal-based horror is a huge thing because nature is scary. I mean, Family Guy said it best back in the day. Damn, nature, you scary.
I'm happy you said it.
you know, of course. But yeah, nature can be very scary, and yeah, it is a trope you can hit on with horror. But the opening sequence of Jaws, I mean, they've never been able to match it with any of the other nature-based or animal-based horror movies. They've never been able to match it. I mean, the absolute tension, the fear, and that feeling of like helplessness watching this girl drown and knowing, obviously, this movie's about sharks, knowing she's being eaten by a shark and there's nothing anybody can do to stop it.
Yeah.
There's nothing anybody can do. You just watch her, you're just watching this girl drown to death and be shark bait.
Basically. Hoo ha ha.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So yeah, so that's my number one pick is Jaws, the opening sequence of Jaws. It's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
Well, I find this really interesting because both of our favorite or number one opening scenes are animal-based horror.
Oh, okay.
For me, my absolute favorite scary movie opening scene is Nope.
Nope.
Where we open
No.
with the chimpanzee incident.
Oh god.
I'm actually forgetting the chimp's name right now from the movie, which I feel
Oh,
really bad for.
I'll look it up.
Okay, cool. In the meantime, I'll just say, I was listening to a lot of podcasts at the time before I went to go see the movie, and I had actually listened to this really good podcast. It's actually called Mile Higher, um, and they did
Mhm.
an episode about the actual attack of Charles the Chimp, and so I had just listened to this. No idea that this movie's going to open with a chimp attack. That's literally
Yeah.
inspired from the real attack. And so I had
Mhm.
listened in great detail about how strong chimpanzees are.
Mhm.
And I've been grossed out by chimps my whole life.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then for me to now have a reason to fear them on top of it, watching this was so unsettling. You have the
Yep.
name of the chimp from the movie?
Gordy.
Gordy, that's his name. Thank you.
Gordy's home.
Gordy's home. This opening scene with just the fact that he has killed members of the audience, he has killed cast members, and this child, I guess we really don't know at this point, but the child
Yeah.
is sitting underneath the
A
freaking
table.
table watching this. The shoe sitting up straight, which I still don't understand the significance to this day of that.
I
Um,
still think my theory for that with the shoe is I think it's just because it was something that he focused on, that Jupe focused on when he was under the table watching the attack happen. I think that's the
mm,
significance of the shoe is that he focused on that to keep himself calm throughout the attack.
That makes sense. That does make
Yeah.
sense. And the single like drop of blood on the shoe and everything too. It was all unsettling how it was filmed and just like knowing how strong chimpanzees are. Like they can rip your face off. They rip your
Mhm.
eyelids off. They rip your
Mhm.
lips off. Your fingers.
Mhm.
Ugh.
Yeah, the girl in Nope, the one that played Jupe's sister in the show,
Yes.
her look was based off of the woman that survived the
Oh, I
chimpanzee
know.
attack.
I had done a deep dive into Charles the Chimp and the entire attack. And like everything from the veil over the face is exactly the
Mhm.
same as how the woman who suffered the attack had her face in the Oprah interview. Like
Yep.
everything was exactly the same. And I was just so scared because I was already like really hyper focused on this case. Basically, I don't
Mhm.
even know if I should call it a case, but just on this attack, this
This
news story
incident. This incident.
incident. There you go. Um, and like having to watch that in a movie now, um, I feel really bad because actually the first thing I did in the theater when I realized what was going on is I laughed. And the movie was the theater was dead silent, and
Oh no.
I was like, "I'm laughing because, like, how is this happening to me right now?"
You're like, "Wait, this was my hyperfixation." Yeah, especially because, they didn't really allude to anything like that being part of the story. Like,
Not at
The
all.
Nope trailers never focused on any of that Gordy's
Never.
home stuff. Because I remember when I watched it at home and it opened with that, I was like, "Wait, what? I thought this was about aliens."
And I was like,
Like,
"What movie are we
that was
in?"
yeah, I was like, "Wait, did we rent?" I was like, I think I was like thinking in the back of my mind, like, "Did we rent the right movie?" Like, I'm confused. Like, maybe we rented the wrong movie or something. And then I was like, "Oh, no, 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 no. He's setting something up."
Yeah, he's setting something up right now, but it just, like, it had got me so good for the fact that that was my hyperfixation for the moment,
Mhm.
and I was, like, creeped out for the rest of the movie. Every time they circled back to it, I was like, "Please, no. No, let's just leave the chip
Mhm.
behind us, okay?"
Let's not talk about Gordy, please. Like, let's
Mm-mm.
leave him in the past.
We don't talk about
Um,
Gordy.
no, absolutely not. Um, all right. Well, that's pretty much it. Yeah, those were some of our in our opinion, the best opening scenes in any horror movie. So if you guys have any differing opinions or any scenes that you think are better than the ones that we put out, or maybe scenes that we may not have seen before because we've never seen the movie, you can always let us know. And we'd love to hear what you guys think of like our picks for the best opening scenes for horror movies.
Yeah, for sure. I would love to hear everybody's opinions and everyone's thoughts on maybe even the movies that we covered, and
Hmm.
um yeah, I'm just excited to
Yeah.
hear from everybody.
Same. All right. Well, I guess we are going to wrap this up for the night.
Yeah.
Um, Thank you guys so much again for listening to today's episode.
If you like what you hear and are afraid to miss an episode, you can catch us every Wednesday at noon over on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you choose to listen.
Catch up with us over on Instagram and TikTok at Dial H for Horror Podcast, and feel free to check out our Patreon for exclusive content under the same name. Once again, I've been Shay.
And I've been Gina.
Be safe out there, and we'll see you all in the next episode.
Stay
Stay
spooky.
spooky.